the soda bread, you can add anything into it. So you can go sweet, you can go savoury. A sweet one is really good for the likes of some syrup and even raisins. That's a beautiful sweet soda. But without further ado, we're going to start now. We're going to cook up some bacon first of all, and then we'll add let them cool down then until we make our dough then for our soda bread. So this is just a wee slice packet bacon that you get in any shop, and the smoked variety I find is so much better. So we're going to go maybe 3 rashers. I always tend to take off the fat. You can leave it on if you like it. I don't like it, so I take it off myself. So just de-grind it, and then just pop on a wee pan just to heat it up. So when it's ready to go, it'll just sizzle away. So, and then cut it onto these fine wee strips. And if anybody can't hear or can't see anything, even if you want to pop it in the chat, I'm sure the animal can come back to this then. Move this here out of the way, the flour. So it's this is like 3 rashers, and we'll just cut it up into nice fine wee slices. Now cook these up and let them cool then. So you kind of see the kind of size then that we're going for. Just going to pop these in. It's a wee non-stick pan. I was trying to get my camera sorted so you could see a view downwards, but obviously it didn't happen. Alright, I'll just move all this out of the way. Let that sizzle away there a wee second. Okay, so now we're going to start with the dough. We've got 350 grams of self-raising flour. You can actually buy the soda bread flour in the shop with all the ingredients in it, the bacon powder and the carbonated soda. But I tend to kind of go with the self-raising flour because I use it so much in at work. It saves storage and things like that as well. So we'll take about 2 tablespoonfuls out of that, and that's just for afterwards then to kind of dry your hands. Let's check the bacon. It's cooking off nicely. There we go. So we've got our flour, and then we're going to add then our bicarbonated soda. Couldn't get the words out there. So we're going to add in 2 teaspoonfuls, and then a wee half teaspoonful of the baking powder. Just helps it rise really well. And I normally don't go by ingredients, I just lift it here and lift it there and put it on. Just go by eye, that's what I've always done. And then we've got our 250 ml of buttermilk. Now if you don't have buttermilk, the easiest thing you can do is like full fat milk, add a wee bit of either apple cider vinegar into it or lemon juice, and just let it sit. And it's not going to like alter the taste or anything like that, because I know buttermilk sometimes can be hard to get, but it's handy. I can get it on work, so it's not too bad. Or Grove Dairy is brilliant. That's where I get mine from. This is cooling off. Oh, it's cooking off really well. You don't want it to be overcooked because you still want the flavour and the taste coming on of it. Let me wash my hands here in a second. Just take this wee wipe. Just going to take this off the heat now, switch it off. I'm just going to let that cool there to the side. So, but this is obviously more than 250 ml. So we're just going to add it on until it's like a wee dough-like mixture. And that's all ingredients it is. It's so plain and so simple, but it's very effective. Okay, and just mix it together. You can mix it on with your hands, you can mix it on with a spatula, a spoon, anything at all. And just keep adding a wee tiny bit at a time until you have enough. You mightn't need the full 250 ml, but I always like to have a wee tiny bit extra just in case. And the great thing about this recipe If it gets too wet, just add a wee tiny bit more flour. If it's too dry, add a wee bit more buttermilk. So it's kind of just coming well together now. If you can see that. Maybe a tiny bit more. The thing about soda bread, you don't have to knead it. You don't have to like stretch it out or anything. The best bet is just to mix it. Keep as much air in it as possible, and the air then will just lift it, fill it out a lot more. Just take slightly bit. So you've got this, the dough mixed now. And what we're going to do, we're going to take our cheddar and then our parmesan. Now it all depends on how much of a flavour you want in. If you want it to be really deep, cheesy flavour, you add more parmesan and less of the cheddar. But I like the mixture of both. I always put a wee bit of the cheddar then on top of it before you put it in the oven. So we're just going to grate this down. Just nice, even a thicker grater as well. That's a bit perfect. You find you can actually make the soda bread into loaves, but we're going to do it in a wee round one today. If you have a pound loaf tin, you can actually put it into the pound loaf tin. So at this stage of making it, I always put the oven on. We always have a preheated oven for bread. So the hotter the oven, you put it on to maybe about 200 just to get it really warm. And as you put the bread in the oven, you bring it down to 180 and you let it cook for about 35 minutes. So always preheated first. It's always bread, always goes into a warm oven. So that's our cheddar. And then we're going to do the same then with the parmesan. Or you can do that a wee bit finer if you want. But so it's 50 grams of cheddar and 50 grams of parmesan. And 3 rashers of the smoked bacon. I made one earlier as well in the house, and the smell of it is absolutely gorgeous. A bit more. To say I'm going by eye as well, so you can always add a wee bit more in, it doesn't really matter, but on average about 50 grams. So that's our parmesan and our cheddar together. And now just check our bacon. Our bacon's well, nice and cold. Always have it kind of well cold by the time it gets onto the dough mixture as well. So that's the dough. So the 50 grams of the flour that you took out, I always have a bowl of flour and the bench anyway, because obviously whenever you're cooking or baking or anything, that's literally to keep your hands dry. It stops your hands sticking to anything. So put a wee bit of flour out on the bench. I don't know whether any of you know, I own Primrose. Primrose is located down on the quay, just along the foil. And this is the plain soda bread, is the one that we use every day for our soups or breakfasts. And this is what I do. I make about 10 of these every morning. So the well and truly used in there. So that was just a wee bit wet. So just add a wee bit more flour to it. You'll know kind of the dough-like mixture then, because that's still slightly wet. So we'll just add a wee bit more. That goes down to it. I put a wee bit too much buttermilk into it. So there we go. So that's basically, if you just want the plain, that's your plain basis for it. That's your plain dough. If you want to add sweet at this stage, then you'd add on your syrup or a wee bit of sugar or even treacle. You can add treacle into that as well. But always, you know the consistency. As long as the consistency comes back to this, you add a wee bit more flour into it. Plain treacle is beautiful, really, really, really beautiful. Or then you add your raisins, any kind of dried fruit into it. As I say, this is my favourite. The cheese and the bacon one's my favourite, along with soups. It's gorgeous. So we're going to just add in, leave a wee tiny bit, maybe about 10 grams of the cheese then. and that's to top it. And then our Parmesan. And just fold it on. As simple as that, you just fold it on. Slightest we need. Just dust off your hands with flour when you're doing it. And there we go. That's the cheese all in. And now I'm just going to add in the bacon. Same process. And it's well cooled down now. Or if you want to put in the ham, if you want to, that's perfect as well. So we'll just fold that on again. Just dust off my hands. And that's basically it. It's as simple as that there. It's so easy, and the smell. Oh, the smell of bread in the house cooking is just gorgeous. So that's it rolled up. But you always go by eye. You always go by eye. So that's kind of consistency there. Maybe just bring it forward so you see. So that's the kind of consistency. It's nice and dough-like. And it's not too wet, it's not too dry, and it's well combined and through. So we're going to turn our oven down now to 180. So the oven is really well warmed up. And that would, a hot oven, that's what will give the first bit lift, and then completely leave a really nice crust on it as well. That's my knife, there we go. Now we do a wee cross. So we'll flour that up again. Just a nice wee cross there on top of it. And the cross, well, what is it in Irish tradition is to let the fairies out, or it's just to help her eyes. Gives a nice wee shape. And this goes on the oven now, okay, for about 35 minutes. But just keep a wee eye as you bring it out of the oven. Always turn it over, get a cloth in your hand, turn it over and tap the bottom of it, and that will end up then. You'll see then whether it's if you hear a hollow sound, you know then that it is it's ready. Only a second just to wash my hands. So that's the easiest, simplest. You know what? Don't forget, put the cheese on top of it. Just could be like me. So we'll just sprinkle the cheese on the top. That's as bad as me one morning. I'm at work. So just pile them up. I had all the breads in the oven, all in, ready, perfect, no problem. And couldn't figure out they weren't rising. There's one there not rising when they used to. Kept thinking, what did I do? Went over the recipe again, went over it again. Didn't put the baking powder on. So all breads I had to start again and get everything sorted. But that's the joys. Never too late, always pop out, put it on. You know yourself, once you start baking, you'll know yourself whether, like the ingredients, basically you putting the ingredients together, as long as you've all measured out before and you know you're following the recipe. So as say if you're putting the likes of a sponge, as long as you do the butter and the sugar first, you'll get into a routine and there's certain stages that you have to go through. Whereas the soda bread is amazing for starting out. But you could do that way as well with the soda bread, as you could add butter into that. You could add, say if you added 125 to that recipe, you could make a really nice scone as well, 125 grams of butter. That's a beautiful, beautiful scone. And add sugar and take out the carbonated, but it's really, really simple. Anything, as long as you have a soda bread or plain flour, you can actually make anything from it at all. Or, sorry, self-raising flour, you can make anything from it. I'm just going to write down here. And just thinking, have we got time maybe? We probably have time for a wee sweet one as well. Let's see. Yeah. So I'll just use the same bowl and I'll just do a bit of flour. So this is the, here, grab a wee bowl, just that we have plenty of time. This is your flour again, and as I say, I never measure, I go by eye. So that is 350. You take out your cup, 2 tablespoonfuls, no matter what, always take out a couple of wee tablespoonfuls, and it's just for your hands and for after. Alright, and again, your flour, and your baking powder. Oh, too much. There we go. Now the soda bread flour, that would have all the raisin ingredients in it already, so you don't probably need to add a wee bit of baking powder to it. But the what do you call it? The self raisin doesn't. So we're just going to add in what? There we go. Buttermilk. Just add it into the sweet bowl now. And this is mixing that bowl. That's perfect. I'm just going to add in our buttermilk. Might even try to cut them out into like scone shapes for you as well. So you can do that for this one. So you have small soda breads then to go individually if you have people around for dinner or anything, you can make them really wee small ones. So people's got their own wee loaf for their soups. That. And then we're just going to add on a wee bit of so we've got some dried fruit, some raisins. Just going to add on some raisins. Just a wee handful. And just a wee drop of syrup then. Or sugar. If you want to add sugar, it's grand, but I like just a nice wee syrup. And if you like it really sweet, you'll know yourself. If you want it really sweet, you add in probably, I'd say maybe about 3 tablespoonfuls is more than enough. And if not, that's just, you see, that's just literally the tiny sweet drop there that I added on. And same thing again, just wash your hands with flour so it doesn't be sticky. And just a wee tiny bit of flour. And it's just moulding it together. My wee one's 6 and she adores baking as well. So she is constantly baking the likes of, well, pancakes. She loves pancakes, but she loves dough. Instead of playing with Play-Doh, she'd play with this kind of dough and making shapes and making cookies, and some of them not edible, but she still tries. She wants to make her own ingredients. She doesn't follow a recipe like her mummy. So that's her dough. You see the dough back into the same shape again. And that one there's got syrup in it, so it would end up being a wee bit more sticky than the other one. So just the same thing, wash your hands in the flour. So say your hands washed in the flour all the time. It is so easy to work with anything at all. So you can actually, if you want, cut these down. Make these into just wee individual loaves then. So that there can be divided into the likes of 3 Just get another wee try. There we are. Just fold them in nicely and gently. But always put a wee cut on top of them. That just helps them rise even more. And also let the fairies out. So that's our 1, 2, that's 6. And 1 second just to get a wee try. And then you put a wee bit of flour, even on the tray as well, and that will stop, because there's certain these ones here that tend to stick more than the other one, because there's nothing on that at all. So no sweetness, so it doesn't need anything too sticky. So then, all the same size. And what you could do here, if you want, you could actually put a wee bit of buttermilk on the top of them, and that'll leave it a wee bit more glazy for you, and a wee bit more. There we are. Give it a wee bit more shine and crust in on top of it as well. And then what we do then is a wee individual cross in every one of them. There we go. And that's them ready for the oven there as well. Oh, smell the cheese one's gorgeous. By the time the loaf's ready now, the small ones will be ready as well. So another maybe 10-15 minutes. So that's going to be perfect. Well, I cook on the trays. It's just literally the wee metal trays, and as flat as possible. But if you have a wee loaf tin, you can actually put that onto a loaf tin. They're usually about £1 loaf tin. But if you roll it oblong, set it in, and then do 3 wee slices in the top. That's how I cook mine on work. See, for breakfast and things like that, that's the soda breads are all cooked in there. But always remember to put on your baking powder, don't be like me. Again, when they're cooked, take them out and tap them on the bottom. And if you hear that hollow sound, you'll know that they're ready. But at the very, very max, all ovens are different. Like my oven here, to my oven at work, to my oven at home. I have 3 different ovens I work from. And every single one of them is completely different. The one on at work is one big high-tech one that literally does everything apart from baking it. But it takes no time. It only takes about 20 minutes for the bread, and then this one here takes half an hour. So as I say, every oven is completely different. I know it's all says temperatures, but the quality of the ovens are different as well. Because the one I have in the house, sometimes it plays up on me, and sometimes it's, do you know what I mean? So it's between 25 and 30 minutes as well. But when you take it out of the oven, be careful, it's hot. So you take it out of the oven, just tap the bottom, you hear that there, and you know 100% that's a whole sound, you know it's cooked through. There's nothing's bad, then it's cutting through, and it's all not cooked inside. And then the sound of the crust. And that is smell. Oh, I'm going to use all this smell. It's beautiful. So, the cheese, and then there we go. How does this? I'm going to bring it across to you if I can. Here, it's too heavy, so I'll just carry this across. So in the centre of then you see all the bacon and the cheese and everything through, and then the full way, it's cooked the full way through.